Hi everyone, my name's Emily and I'm a freelance video editor, and today I'm going to be doing a short tutorial showing you some creative editing techniques for enhancing an action sequence for promos. So a little bit about me. I've been editing for about 12 years. I've mainly worked on sports TV, so I've done documentaries, highlight shows, as well as promos or short films for live TV. I was an on-site editor at 2 Olympic Games. I've also worked on lots of corporate promos and branded content and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping to pass on a little bit of what I've learnt in that time. I'm aiming this really at people who are kind of beginning to get into video editing. So maybe if you're a photographer who's starting to switch to video, or if you've done a lot of filming but not much editing, then I hope this will be useful for you. I am assuming that you have some knowledge of Adobe Premiere, so it's not going to be super novice level in terms of what I'm doing in the program. So in terms of this demo, I'm going to be using an edit that I did for a company called Wanderlust Action Films, run by Ellie Cartwright. It's, what is it? It was a 90-second highlights from a parachuting World Championships in the Middle East. So I think the best thing to do is to watch that edit. So I'm going to play that for you now.
Surface wind 210 at 4, report 2 minutes. 210 at 4, report 2 minutes. 210 at 4, clear your drops.
Superman! Can he hold down to the platform for a high score? Yes, he can! Into the court. Stretching, and once again puts it in the middle. That's why he's number one.
So my first tip is music. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that music is one of the most important things about a promo edit or an action montage. The bad news is you won't be able to use a track by your favourite artist if it's in the charts or if it's been released commercially, unless your film has a very big budget. So I often use production library music or royalty-free music. Royalty-free music is very cheap, and you can buy a track for £30 or £30 upwards. I'll just show you a few sites where you can get quite good royalty-free music. So this is Audio Jungle, and you can buy tracks on here for about £30, and you don't need to pay a subscription. Same goes for a site called Premium Beat, which is run by Shutterstock. A really nice library is Artlist, but it's a subscription model, and I think it's somewhere around £100 to £200 a year. But they have really nice music, and lots of people are using that now. So have a look at those. So the track we used on this is called Dubstep. I think we found that on Audio Jungle, I believe. I think we'll just listen to the beginning. Your edit always follows the music and kind of takes its punctuation from the music. So it's really important you kind of listen to where that punctuation is. So I'm just going to play the beginning of this track. Okay, so first 30 seconds are pretty eventful. I've got a bit of moody piano at the beginning, then we've got the violins that come in and then it builds to what we call a beat drop. I think everybody calls it a beat drop. I don't know if that's editing. But so it builds to a beat drop, and those are really like key edit points for promos. So tip 2 is shot length. I want to just think about when we might use a longer shot and when we might use short shots. So short shots obviously cut quickly and they can build pace and make the edit feel more exciting and give a sense of action. So that can be really useful. But often at the beginning of a promo or an action sequence, you might want to build a bit of mood, and that can be done by adding a longer shots in. And I think be guided by the music on that one. In this instance, we have got a little bit of time of kind of piano that we can have longer shots. So I'm just going to take this shot. I'm just going to find the bit where he goes through the sun there, which is nice. I'm going to mark in, give it a couple of seconds and mark out. I'm going to put it on the timeline. Actually, music doesn't start till there, so we can have a nice slow fade. So I've just added a quick fade there. It's a bit wobbly because it's at full speed, but what I'm going to just do is reveal this shot in my project. I'm going to right click on the source monitor. This is the source monitor. I'm going to go reveal in project, and that's that clip there. And here is telling me under this column in the metadata frame rate that it's filmed at 100 frames per second. So that means I know I have the potential to slow this shot down, which is really, really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to speed duration, and I'm just going to slow that down. I know it was shot at 100 frames a second and there are 25 frames per second normally in video, so I can reduce it to 25% basically. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. And what it also does, slightly annoyingly, is it makes the clip 4 times longer on the timeline. So I don't think I want that. So I'm just going to cut it or drag it back at the next chord change. So that's quite nice, isn't it? When you're building that kind of moody beginning, things like wide landscapes works really well. And also it can double as a kind of establisher. This was a 90-second edit, but I'd say even with a 90-second edit, you still want some light and shade in the pace of your action sequence. Editing is storytelling in terms of what you're seeing and the story you're telling visually and with what you're hearing, but it's also storytelling in terms of how it feels when you watch it. So at the beginning I've used very long shots, and then actually in this promo I've used a sequence of kind of rapid fire shots to build up to the beat drop here. So just as an example of how you could use very short shots. So yeah, and I think that can give you the impression of kind of speed and rushing and building the kind of anticipation to the climax of the track. Next I'm going to talk about the speed ramp, a technique loved by sports editors and promo editors the world over. If you've watched any sports montage, there'll probably be a speed ramp. And a speed ramp is when you abruptly change the speed of a shot. So I'll show you where I've used it here. So there, I'll show you that again. So I'll just show you quickly how you would do that. So I'm going to go through the clip. He does a little smile at the camera, that's nice. And then he jumps out. Okay, so we'll take all of that. So I'm going to mark out there and I'm just going to drag that onto my timeline. I want to kind of roughly, I can see here, if I enlarge the audio waveform and make sure I've got waveforms turned on. So if you haven't, you want this one, show audio waveform. So let's turn that on. And I can see here roughly like where that violin kicks in is about there, and I want to put that about where he kind of jumps out, and then I'll probably just drag back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add an edit, which just literally means kind of put a cut in that clip. I have a shortcut to do that, so I've just used that there. The other thing you can do actually is you can use your blade or your razor tool, so you can press R, and that will cut the track So then what we're going to do is, like I did at the beginning with the parachute, we're going to right click, speed duration, and yeah, I'm going to take it right down to 25%. So now we see this build up. So another way you can do the speed ramp is actually using keyframes in the effects editor. So here I've done a cut, so it starts full speed and then it cuts and it goes to 25%. But you can kind of keyframe the speed change, which does make it a bit smoother, but I find the keyframe is a little bit fiddly. But if I delete this and pull that out, so we still want him to stop there. So we're going to go to our effects editor and time remapping, this little section. I'm going to put a keyframe in where I want it to change. And the line after I'm just going to drag down. So here you can see the velocity here is changing and we want it to be as close to 25% basically, ideally 25%. So it's just a slightly smoother, and you can pull these two out and you can actually just make that the speed change just a bit smoother. Okay, so I'm going to talk about flashes, so film flashes. A flash is a really simple, nice way to kind of, you know, just give a bit of a like oof to the audience watching. So I'm going to use flashes by bringing in a clip of a flash, a literal video clip of a flash. I think they're in my graphics folder. So you can get packs of kind of leaks, they're called light leaks. It's a kind of throwback to old film where you might get light leaking onto the film. I think they make the edit feel a bit rough and ready and a bit grungy and it's got that kind of retro feel. A film flash that will work well will kind of start, the video clip will start dark, then there'll be a bright bit, and then it'll go dark again. So this is quite nice for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole clip, put it on the timeline, and I'm going to use it over my speed ramp actually, which is here. Now at the moment it's obscuring the clip below because I haven't blended it. And what I need to do to do that is go into the effects mode, go to blend modes, and use something like add or screen. And that kind of adds the value of the pixels on the two layers together, and therefore it has the effect of brightening out the whites. A little bit slow, so I bring up my speed thingamy and I think we'll go for maybe 300. So that's really short now. But yeah, that's quite a nice effect. Next up I'm going to talk about is jump cuts. Jump cuts are really, really simple. It's just where you take a continuous clip and you put cuts in it so that it looks like the clip is jumping. It's kind of actually what we are generally taught to avoid when you learn to edit because it's quite jarring to watch. I think it's very useful to mirror a kind of stutter in the music. So on that, you can do this very quickly. Take that shot. So I'm going to do it on the claps. So I'm going to mark an in. I'm going to just lock my music track, so I don't want to affect my music track. I'm marking in, and then maybe 10 frames later, I'm marking out. I'm going to cut that, which for me on my keyboard shortcuts is an X. I'm going to do it again. So that's quite cool. I don't love it, so I probably wouldn't keep it, but yeah, you kind of get the idea of that. You can jump cut on those music points. This is quite a good example where you can kind of speed up an action sequence. So maybe I'll take the bit where he just scrunches the parachute. So I've just kind of jump cut through an action sequence. You know, you can just kind of get through something that perhaps you want to see a bit of all of it, but to actually watch that real time might take 20 seconds. So I also want to talk a little bit about sound, because I'm predominantly a video editor and I'm not a sound person, but I realised pretty early on in editing that sound is one of the most important parts of a film. I know I said music was, but so is sound. I guess music counts as sound. Video is something you really consume with your eyes and your ears, and I think if you are not adding even kind of natural sound, so sound that was filmed with the clip, you're kind of missing, the audience is missing a whole part of the experience. And actually on this promo, we spent quite a lot of time on the sound. I thought I'd just maybe go through a little bit some of the sound that we've added. So that's the original sound. So that's okay, we've left a little bit of that in there. But I also thought it would be nice to have the sound of maybe radios talking in the helicopter. So we added this.
Service winds 210 at 4, report 2 minutes. 210 at 4, report 2 minutes.
I think we found it on a clip of an army exercise. And then down at the bottom here, I've just got some kind of wind sound, which I think is just nice. It just adds a bit of atmosphere. And then here I've got a bit of like artificial sound design. So for this instance, I wanted to kind of have a sound that brought us into the hold on the speed ramp. So that was it's a reversed effect. Let's play that again. And yeah, and it just kind of builds to that point, and with the flash as well, just kind of helps sells the effect. Yeah, so in here we've got a bit of heartbeat, classic bit of heartbeat. Just to build up to the jump. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you is a kind of fast zoom effect, which you may have seen there. There's two here.
Comes into the court.
So there's a fast whip down and then a fast zoom in. These are quite popular at the moment, and I think in some instances they're a little bit overused, but I think when they're used well, they can be really nice. And it involves an extra plugin, which you'll have to download, but you can get it for free. A few people do them, but the one I've used is this one, the Orange 83 Super Smooth Transitions. So they come into your project here, orange83.com presets. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I have built this one. Okay, so I've got my two clips here. And what I want to do is I want to crash into this shot, and I want to kind of slightly crash out of that shot. So you need to go back a few frames on your incoming shot. So let's say 3 frames, 1, 2, 3 on the keyboard. And then I'm going to add an edit. You can use that with your razor tool. And then we'll go maybe 4 frames on the outro shot. You want the main preset is going to be on your clips at the bottom, but actually, because this is a zoom in, that we don't need that preset, because what that preset does is it replicates the video footage so that when you zoom out, it looks like there's footage around the edges. So if I put it on the second one, because we do need it for the zoom in, so it does this, it kind of replicates the image to give the video something to zoom in with. So then we're going to need an adjustment layer over the top. So I can do this here. This is my new item button. I can go adjustment layer, new adjustment layer, okay. Yeah, so we'll put that over the top. Okay, and you want it to just match the length of just the transition clips. So just to clarify, on the outgoing clip, this side we don't need the main preset, but on the incoming clip we do need the main preset, and it looks weird at the moment, but over the top we're going to add the effect we want. So on this one I want it to be a zoom in, and that's going to do that. So that's quite nice, isn't it? I think the guy who made them does a really nice tutorial, so check that out on the Orange 83 presets. So those are a few tips and techniques for editing action sequences and promos. I hope it's been useful. Thanks for watching and good luck with your editing adventures.